Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back everyone, as we are preparing this week for Parshat Mishpatim, which is also Rosh Chodesh Adar Aleph, Mishenichnas Adar, Marbim B'Simcha. We also want to wish the El Natano family a Mazel Tov on the Bar Mitzvah this week. Abutai, Parshat Mishpatim, and we have in the Parsha discussion about an Eved Ivri. If a Jew would have a slave, a Jewish slave, that after 6 years of work, on the 7th year, you have to send the slave free. In fact, the Haftarah for Parshat Mishpatim, if it was a regular week, and you read the regular Haftarah, the Haftarah tells us that Hashem tells to Yirmiyahu that he made a brit, he made a covenant with our forefathers on the day that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. That was the day that Hashem told the Jewish people that when they will have slaves, they work them for 6 years, and on the 7th year they have to let them go free. And it's an amazing pasuk, because the pasuk in Yirmiyahu says that these laws that are found in this week's Parshat Mishpatim about the Eved Ivri was mentioned on the day we left Yitziat Mitzrayim, the day we left from Mitzrayim. And you think about it for a second. They just left Mitzrayim. They just got freed. Why are you talking to them about owning slaves? In fact, they would not own slaves until they finally get into Eretz Yisrael, which took over 40 years because they were in the desert. And as soon as they got into Eretz Yisrael, they didn't get slaves either. They were fighting a war. And they didn't. Slaves wouldn't become something for a very long time. So why was it that the Torah tells us, the Navi tells us, that these laws of Eved Ivri, the laws of freeing a slave, was taught on the day that they left Mitzrayim? And so, Rabotai, we have here a very important lesson. We derive one of the greatest lessons of life from this teaching. You've heard this phrase before: strike while the iron is hot. Well, the iron is hot. That's when you strike. Seize the moment. There is no one who appreciates what it means to be a slave like a person who has just been a slave. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the Jewish people on the day they left Mitzrayim, you know what it is to be a slave. Don't keep your slave as slaves. You must treat them properly and justly. And after 6 years, you have to let them free. By hearing this now, because you're sensitive to the subject now, if you don't act on the moment will dissipate. That's the way people are. They feel an inspiration, but if you don't act on an inspiration, you don't act on that feeling in that moment, it will pass, and then you'll lose it. And that's why the Navi tells us that Hashem taught the Jewish people this lesson of freeing the slave on the date they left Mitzrayim. Rabotai, there's a famous story about Bahur Yeshiva, a boy in the yeshiva, in the famous granddaddy yeshivot of all the yeshivot, the Volozhiner Yeshiva. In that yeshiva, they learned Shas from beginning to end, from Masechet Brachot to Masechet Nida. They learned it forwards to backwards, and then backwards to forwards. And one day, there was a top bacher. He was sitting at a table, eating his lunch, and a group of Talmidim came over and asked him a question on the Talmud. And the Bahur responded, I don't know. And another Bahur on the table said, what do you mean you don't know? It's mentioned in the Tosfot and Masechet Gittin. When this Bahur, who was known to be the Ilui, he knew all of Shas backwards and forwards, saw that he forgot a Tosfot, right there he got up and he said, that's it. I'm going to learn straight for 7 years. He ran out of the lunchroom and he went to learn for 7 years straight. and ran to the Beit Midrash, and for there he stayed for 7 years. But there was one problem. This Bahur was eating a bread meal. He was supposed to say Birkat Hamazon, and he didn't. He left without benching. And so they went to the Rosh Yeshiva. They went to Rav Chaim Volozhiner, the founder of the yeshiva. And they asked Rav Chaim Volozhiner, did this boy act properly? He left the lunchroom to go learn for 7 years straight, but he didn't say Birkat Hamazon. And Rav Chaim Volozhiner said, of course he did not act properly. No one can say it's okay to not say Birkat Hamazon. But what would have happened if he said Birkat Hamazon? He never would have gone to learn for 7 years straight. Because that feeling, that inspiration, that moment would have passed. And then he would never be able to recapture it. That's the lesson that Navi Yirmiyahu tells us. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, on the day you left Mitzrayim, that's the day I taught you about freeing the slaves. Because that's the day you had the moment to conceptualize and finalize the idea of freeing slaves in your head. That's a lesson for us. We cannot let the moment dissipate. We cannot let it be gone forever. We have to seize the moment. Let's move on to another lesson in this week's Parsha. In this week's Parsha, we have a pasuk that tells us, Im kesef tavet ami. If you have money, lend it to the ani. Lend it to the nation. Tavet ami. When you lend money to my people, et he ani imach. The poor person who is with you. Im kesef tavet ami. You have money, lend it to the people of the Klal Yisrael. Et he ani imach. The poor person who is with you. The question is, what do you mean, poor person who is with you? Lend money to the poor person who is with you. What does it mean? So there's a famous mashal that will help us understand this. There was a man. He had a friend. What a friend. This guy was with him all the time. Every time he went outside, they would go to this, to party here. The guy was always with him. Then he had a second friend. This friend was his friend at home. He used to come visit him in the house, help him out. Then he had a third friend. This friend he saw once every couple of weeks. Hi, bye. Wasn't his greatest of friends. No. As life goes on, one day, this man got a summons from the court. They say he did a very terrible crime. And he had to come to court. And he was scared. What are they going to do with him? Put him in prison? Maybe they kill him. So he asked his best friend, the guy who always went out to the parties and always went out to have fun with, say, come with me. And this guy says, hey, listen, I'll walk you to your front door of your house. It's from your room, from your bedroom to the front door. He says, I don't need you. I need you to come with me to court. Tell the judge I'm a good guy. I can't do it. He says to the second guy, the guy who used to party in his house, come and help him out. He tells him, come with me. He says, listen, I'm a nice guy. I'm going to take you to the court. I'll drive you to the courthouse, but I'm not going in. He feels all alone. He doesn't know what to do. He goes to the court that day. He's sad. His friend drove him to there. His other friend only took him to the door. And then as he's about to go into the courthouse, he sees the third friend. The guy he says hi once every couple of weeks. He sees him and he says to him, please, can you come help me? And the guy says, of course. We're going to this courthouse. And, I have a lawyer. I'm going to help you out. He goes, he takes him, and he goes in and he helps him out in the court case. And then he says, how foolish I was. I used to party every day with the first friend. I used to spend my time in the house with the second guy. But none of these can help me. It was only the third guy who I used to say hi every couple of weeks to. He was the one who really helped me. He was the one who had the good lawyers. What's the nimshal? Chamim tell us. The first friend, that's the person's money. Ooh, he's running after money. He's partying with money, spending money. His whole life is about money. Well, guess what? When you come to the next world, to the next case, to Din Shamayim, to Beit Din Shalmala, the money can't go with you. He's going to say, I'm staying in the house. I'm going to stay in your wallet. I'm not going with you anywhere. The other friend, that's the family. Yeah, they're very nice. They'll drive you to the courthouse, right? And they take the guy 3 funeral and they bring him to the grave. And no one's coming with you afterwards. But who goes with you to the next world to stand in the judgment? That is your Torah, your mitzvot, and your ma'asim tovim. They can go with you to the next world. The people say hi to them once every couple of hours. That guy comes a couple of days, every couple of weeks, a couple of months. I'll do a Shabbat, I'll do a Kiddush, I'll learn a little bit today. Meanwhile, that's what's really going to get you. And so, we understand this pasuk now. Im kesef taveh ami et ha'ani imach. You want to lend money? You have money? Lend it. You know why? Because if you lend it to the poor, then the money will come with you. You want your money to come into the next world? You got to do mishpot with it. You got to lend it to the poor. Right? As the Ben Ish Hai would tell a story that there was a father who wanted to teach his son. And he told his son there were 10 birds. And the hunter came and shot 4 birds. How many birds are left? So the son was a very intelligent son. And he said 4. And the father said, what do you mean 4? If you killed 4, there's 6 left. And the son said, no. You shoot. Whatever you killed stays. And whatever is alive runs away. He says the same thing. Your money, they're going to fly away tomorrow. People have money today, it's gone tomorrow. The only way you're going to have money to keep forever, that's the money that you do ma'asim tovim, that you give tzedakah with. That's the money that's going to last forever. And this is a very important lesson for us in this week's Parshat. Pay attention. You want simcha? Pay attention to what's most important. That's going to bring you the true simcha. And we're going to end with our third and final lesson of this week's Parsha. A famous pasuk we have in this week's Parsha. Midvar sheker tirhak. Stay far away from false word. There was a great Rav Yerushalayim, Rav Zelig Reuven Bengis. And when Eretz Yisrael, the state of Israel, was being formed, there was a big controversy going on in Eretz Yisrael. They wanted to make girls be drafted into the army. Can you imagine Beis Yaakov girls being drafted into the army? It would ruin the whole character of what it means to be a Bat Yisrael. And so Rav Bengis was one of the rabbis who opposed it. And so we cannot force a draft of the girls. And so they wanted to write up a kol koreh. They wrote up a letter. And they had the rabbi signing it that people should know this is not the right way to go. And they brought it to Rav Bengis, to Rav Reuven Zelig Reuven to sign it. And when Rav Zelig Reuven took it, he read it. Then he read it again. Then he cried, and then he signed it. So the people who brought it to him didn't understand. Why did you do all that? Why did you read it, and then cry and sign it? And he said, you know why? I was reading the Kol Koreh. And it says in the bottom, these are the rabbis who are signing it. Hachotem bedema, who are signing it with tears. It says there, I'm signing it with tears. So I can't just sign it. I have to make sure what I'm saying, what I'm doing is truth. It's the emet. So I read it and I felt emotional and I cried. And now I can sign it. Rabotai, how far we are from saying the truth. Midvar sheker tirhak. Let's take it upon ourselves to stay further away this year from non-truths than we did in the past. And Mezes Hashem, one day, will be completely away from it. And with this, to quickly review our 3 lessons. Lesson number 1, strike while it's hot. Lesson number 2 is your money stays with you only if you spend it in Torah, mitzvot, ma'asim tovim, tzedakah. And lesson number 3, how far we have to stay away from sheker. And with this, I would like to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Tov Lekulam.